Charlie Kirk is no longer with us at this moment in time. The investigation is still going on. You have numerous of people who have been doing nothing but giving their most out-loving support to him and his family. And the fact that him and his family are people who are very indifferent to the said situation. Mm. We're all stuck in this, what we call the great escape, right? We all trying to escape some form of distrust, um, projections, realism, and get into our own wheelhouse of success. What we end up having and what we ended up being surrounded by is a conundrum of bad choices, bad decisions, bad movement, bad activity, and just things that didn't really pertain to providing them with any sort of opportunity to increase success. You know, and people political goals get in the way of that, or they channel different results. You know, when you get yourself involved in these political avenues and you marry yourself to an idealism, um, and for some reason it drives other people insane. You know, it pushes them way over a cliff. And once you push people over a line or over a cliff, they never really recover from that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're stuck in their ways. They don't really go like to a level where people can trust them. They go to a whole different resorting of an avenue of well, you could resort to this or you should resort to that. And then when people resort to violence in a measure that doesn't make any sense, you get stuck in this weird space that we're in now. And this is, yes, a weird space to be in. So hit the like button, because it doesn't matter if he's a Republican, Democrat, independent, what. This is a man who did not harm anyone. Okay? He didn't harm anybody. He ran on his beliefs. He's a father of 2 children, has a wife, and they took his life based on political views because you didn't like what he said or his thoughts. And if you can't beat him with words, use violence. And that is not the answer. If you have to use violence, that means you don't have the answers. I didn't agree with a lot of things Charlie Kirk said. Some of the things I was on the money with, some of the things, but I never was a big follower of his. So I think my cousin loved him. Like he liked the stuff what he was saying. I didn't. So it wasn't about a black and white thing. My cousin's black and he liked what Charlie was saying. I believe it's an idealism. But some of the things he said, I said I wouldn't say that. And it was more agenda based than anything because he was pretty much covering for, just his political party, basically pointing the finger, but being hypocritical as most of them are anyway. He's calling someone else out for being a hypocrite, but then he's doing the exact same thing supporting a person with the same worst values of not of anybody. It's like, how could that person talk? You're standing next to the guy that is 10 times worse. So, when you go down that route, then you'll be here all day. Now, here is what we know, people, in the developments right now. Before he went to this incident, like before he went to Utah, there were threats. There were actually political threats thrown in his direction. What's up, Giz? There were actually political threats put in place and coming and directed at him that something was going to happen in Utah. The FBI was called in, and early on, there was a person that seemed to be surveying the area. And from what we saw when it first happened, and they didn't announce he was deceased, there were a lot of people who were there. They interviewed the person who was not the last person, but the person before the last person, to ask him a question. Once he finished with him, he left, but he was in line with that person who asked the questions about the mass shooting. And he said that person was asking something else entirely, told him that he was going to talk about transgenderism. So when he went up there and he could hear the questioning, he was just like that was weird. And then he heard a shot, and he's like, that was less than 20 seconds in. Then all of a sudden, here comes, boom, he shot in 20 seconds. And he's trying to process it all. Now, he thinks that it was a setup, and they cut him right off the news. Right when he said that, they cut his part right off when he started talking about how he felt that it was organized, because that it was just weird how this guy was saying what he was going to say and came up there and said something entirely different. So anyway, here's what we know. That they believe the shot came from a roof. The person was on a roof somewhere, probably at least 200 yards, and the shot definitely came from the left side and hit him directly here, like where the neck meets the shoulder. It hit the artery, and he was DOA. He was completely DOA. Before people could even react to him, he was already gone. He bled out in a matter of less than a minute. To be hit from that range with that kind of, that's what they would call a kill shot. So he was already deceased before he got to there. So when they were telling us he was in critical condition, he was already gone. They were doing their investigation. The shot came from left. They claimed it was from a rooftop. They said they had a person of interest in place, this 70-year-old man who everybody saw on the tape. That was a distractional situation. Him being arrested was because he was basically saying he deserved it and all this stuff. So they just took him away. But he took a lot of the attention away from the search for the original shooter, who was probably who they believe on the rooftop. Now I believe the FBI said they believe they have a person of interest, person who was surveying the place early before it even started. And we don't know as what's happening. We'll wait till they tell us, the FBI. But the FBI is kind of alluding that they have a person of interest. They're not saying a suspect is in custody. They're saying they have a person of interest. They have a POI. That's right, Tyson. Uh, Tyson Garcia, you're absolutely correct. That is exactly what that person was. Of course, it's professional. Of course, it's a hit. This is not amateur hour. That's not an amateur shot. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be trained to know what you're doing. That person shot to kill, not to injure, not to maim, but to kill. And he shot in an area in which it would get that result. No one deserves to be taken out in that fashion. To harm an unarmed man who's not trying to harm you or anyone else, it's cowardly. It's a cowardly act. I wouldn't say he's a good man, bad man, don't matter. He was a man who didn't do anything to anybody physically. He wasn't trying to harm anybody. He speaks his points and views, and whether you agree or disagree, that's his point of view. Nobody should be shot for it. How do I know what, Paul? Paul Hardrick, explain. How do I know what? How do I know he never hurt anyone? Well, it's not documented. He doesn't have a criminal file of harming people. So if he's harmed some people that we don't know, we don't understand or don't know. His family members live by me. He has family that lives by me. So they're having like these vigils in different places. He's from Arlington Heights, Illinois, in case you guys don't know. That's around the corner from my house. So his cousins, his sisters, they're having people just meeting at the house. I think his parents are still here. Um, so for that family right now, they're in shock and they're hurt. Everything. So for them, that's horrible to have. The whole world be able to see their child die on the internet. That's horrible. Somebody said, I thought you said it was fake. I said I don't believe anything until I had not seen the video. Remember, I didn't see the video. Sir, you have to remember. I said I did not see the video. I'm just hearing the reports of what happened, and I was like, I haven't seen it, so I'm just hearing the reports of him was being shot early. Remember, if we were one of the first videos out when this happened. So they put the report out, and I'm just like, I don't believe anything they post on reports and none of this stuff. I don't believe any of it. But I'm like, if this everything they're saying is true, the left wing is turned into Death Row Records. So you got to remember, you see, that's what you have to do. You have to say things in context. You have to remember, I didn't see the video. Oh, I've seen the video now. And as soon as I saw it, I said, oh, yeah, he's gone. That's a kill shot. And I knew right away because of where he was hit and what side he was hit on. He's hit right here in the left side of your neck where your heart valves is and your artery, and he was hit right in the artery. So bled out immediately. You have probably less than 2 minutes before you bleed out. I wouldn't say he's anti-black. It's just that most of the views and the things that he went for didn't help minorities or people who's poor. He's a conservative. Most conservatives, their thing are basically programs that help middle wage, and upper wage people, and benefits that help the poor. They cut wages from. They support cutting those wages, and they always seemingly about blaming the poor a lot for the conditions, and don't blame the people who were rich and had money that put the country in despair. No, it wasn't us, wasn't Wall Street. Nope. No, you guys did it. The water supply messed up because billionaires don't want to spend money to cut costs. They dumping chemicals in the water. It's not the poor people. It's not the poor people. It's the rich folks. He's a human being, man. So when you talk about being human, as a human, what's up, T? He said he's on a plane, and if the pilot of the plane is a black pilot, he hopes that the black pilot is qualified. Well, here's the thing. He's probably never been on a plane that had a black pilot, and if it did, he would get on it anyway because that's the flight he paid for. Nobody has time to race identify the pilot because 9 times out of 10, you don't see the pilot. But for him, he probably flew private planes, and yeah, it is. But he was more, I would say he was more approachable to the people because the young people that he rallied and galvanized, and which made him a threat to a lot of these people, he galvanized a lot of these people to rally them together. He did do that. He was a voice who rallied people together and got young people to believe in his ideals. You're not going to change the world by not including people. If you are surrounded by a certain group of people and you surround yourself with only that group of people, then you're going to have problems for a large portion of your time? The FBI is investigating it heavily to see how many people are involved, who is involved, that person that asked the last question. I would have started with him. The person that asked was asking him the questions last, who was asking about mass shootings. That person, he would be the first suspect. But shoot, I ain't trying to investigate nothing that's going on there. Shoot, they turned this thing into Death Row Records. Mm-mm. No way. Of course, Jamal, we all know that. The guy who told us who was there, who just asked him the question before him, had spoke to that person in line and saying what he was going to say. And he said he was going to talk to him about transgenderism. And he just immediately didn't do that when he went up there. And the guy was like, oh, he's talking about something entirely different. Like, but he could be someone that wasn't with the program, but that made him question what was happening right off the bat. The rallies are supposed to be indoors, especially if your rally is in today's climate. In today's climate, you can't have a rally outside. Nothing, especially with somebody who has caused as many stirs as he has with death threats and things of that manner. Mm-mm. So the flags will be at half mast tomorrow for Charlie Kirk. Trump has announced that that's going to happen. Um, Democrats, I understand you didn't agree with his policies, but to say MAGA died today, and all of that, that's like, it's not time for political agendas. Okay, when somebody dies in an accident or incident with, you know, somebody on the left side that they care about, mostly die, whatever, we don't support tyranny. Mm-hmm. Racism is a very harsh word. It's a lot of racist behavior everywhere. A lot of racist people. You can't control other people's actions, but it's not it's not cool to be Right. You don't resort to what the other people do, then come out and blame them for being a certain way. Then you gonna do the same act too. Yeah, MAGA's dead. MAGA's dead. No, Charlie Kirk died. Okay, we understand your political views, but a man died. In the same way you would feel wrong if they were doing something like that to you when somebody else died, you don't do it back. Because if you viewed it as being wrong, guess what? It's going to be wrong on both sides. Well, that's what we try to avoid around here. Right. We all try to, yeah, we all try to pick each other up, not bring each other down. Society has told the majority of us that it's all about color and all this nonsense, which it isn't. People have to learn. Yeah, they have to stop being irrational. Right. When you're so emotional, sometimes people are so emotional they can't think. You ever seen those people? They get so emotional they can't think. And there's no excuse to be made for what happened. But in my personal opinion, it's a hit, obviously. This is no lone gunman. This is connected to somebody that's connected to somebody that's connected to somebody. This to me was orchestrated. And it just was not put together well. Now, somebody said it was a Chicago Bear fan because his last post, he went off on the Bears after Monday Night Football. Hell, I went off on the Bears after Monday Night Football. So that's that's needless to say. So it's awful. Well, you pray for who you know, and everybody else. But I see this. The thing is that it took for Charlie Kirk to die for some people to start even having conversations. You know, the conversations aren't the same anymore. And that's weird. So I'm like, wow, you didn't have this conversation with them. You didn't have this conversation with them. You didn't have this conversation with them. So everybody's going by the beat of their own drum. Oh, well, you had one person was saying, well, they didn't say anything when such and such died. Nobody cared. Now all of a sudden they want to care because Charlie Kirk, they put in rest in peace Charlie. Why didn't he put rest in peace when someone else passed away? Because they're always going to do it to people that they know, people that they care about, people that has their attention. So for them, This makes the most sense.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
You want anything to drink, sir?
Yes.
What would
I
you
would
like?
like a Pepsi. Yeah.
Pepsi? Sure.
Yes.
Coming right up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, nobody knew what was happening there. That's, nobody, but yeah, they were terrified, it was, yeah. You gotta understand. Remember, we had a Highland Park situation, so, I had family members and people I know that was in Highland Park when that happened. Yeah, let me have the gummy bears too.
Sure.
So, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
All right. So, yeah, so just pray for his family, or just pray in general. This world is crazy right now. So nuts. But I'm going to get my mind off of all of this and recenter and get back to it. All right, y'all be safe. Tell your kids and family you love them. That's the best thing you could do right now. Right? Right. Paranoia is never good. Don't turn to paranoia. Please don't. All right? All right? Pray for your families. Pray in general. You know? We need more sanity in the world. All right? More sanity.